go. Cover One crew. What is going on? Chris Chow's back again. Happy weekend to everybody. The NFL season is in week number 3 already, if you can believe it, man. The season goes by so fast. We wait for it to start, and then it goes in the blink of an eye. But week number 3, we got start-sit for this week. Everybody's got to get in the know. I mean, we started off on Thursday Night Football. It was a subpar showing, subpar contest, but AFC North football, we know what it's about. But we got a ton of good contests coming up on Sunday, so we might as well, dissect every team as per usual. So let's waste no time. Let's get to the good stuff. The toughest part about the fantasy football season is if you started 0-2, you think your season's in the dump fire and you're not going to recover. That is bull duty because you can always recover even if you go 0-2. Now's the week that we start to understand how these teams are operating, who's kind of pulling away early on, who's got injury troubles, etc., etc. So let's get into this. You guys are not done. Trust me. Follow the lead, man. You got to be like 0-6 before I'd even say give up, but I never give up in fantasy football. Let's start with those Arizona Cardinals, and they had a great comeback win against, I believe, the Raiders last week, the Las Vegas Raiders. What a contest, man. What did they show me? They showed me they got some fight in this dog, and Kyler Murray is that guy, man. So, again, low-risk play for Kyler Murray. Even though it is the LA Rams, this is going to be the first contest they've played since that playoff debacle. So, we'll see, man. There's going to be a chip on his shoulder. Kyler should be able to perform, again, almost 50 points right now for fantasy productivity. No bust games for Kyler so far this season out of 2 games. You got to love that. James Conner is the problem right now. He is a game-time decision on the injury list, so now you're going to be wondering, who do I play? Is it Darrell Williams? Is it Eno Benjamin? You're likely going to be starting Darrell Williams if you got him off the waivers to piggyback your injury problem with James Conner. However, even if Conner does play, that's a very high-risk play for me this week. I would look in other directions because you don't know. It's the Rams. It's Aaron Donald, man. You don't know if he's going to be fully healthy to take a full workload, so I do, foresee a big split carries in this backfield between the 3 of these individuals if Connor does play. If he doesn't, it's Darrell. It's Eno 1-2, no question. Darrell likely takes over that Connor role in this contest. Marquise Hollywood Brown, he's been doing very well. Mid-risk level play for me because the Rams are still very good on the defensive back end. Greg Dortch, he's been very good so far this season. Instant flex appeal for me even in this contest. Check downs, and then you're going to see maybe garbage time productivity if the Rams do get out early and ahead. Kyler's going to try to pull him back again, and Dortch is one of these guys that's getting a lot of PPR work, and you got to love that. Zach Ertz, no bust games in 2 contests. Very low-risk start for me as well. I'm firing up Zach Ertz everywhere I got him. Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds, and Marcus Mariota's been good. What can you say? 35 points already, 0 bust games. He's a low-risk start for me against the Seahawks. Seahawks D is not that good. The offense is going to struggle at times, so it's going to give these Falcons a few more opportunities to move the ball. Cordero Patterson, a low-risk play for me as well. Fire him up. Mariota, if you're struggling for quarterback play, maybe you're in a super flex league, I'm okay to fire up Mariota this week against the Seahawks because I think it is very low risk. Tyler Algier, high risk. I'm not going to trust it, man, so I'm not even going to cover him this week. He's got to still show me a lot. Drake London showed me a lot this past week. Looked very good, and Mariota and him are starting to build that chemistry. They're starting to look better, and again, versus Seattle's defense, yes, it's in Seattle against the 12th man, so I don't like that. But, Drake London does look like he's as advertised, and he's going to continue to produce. That is coming at the expense of our guy, Kyle Pitts. What are you doing, Atlanta? Give this man the ball. So he's 2 bust games already to start the season. This is not a good look for all of us that took his services this high. However, I still got a mid-risk on him, even though a lot of people will say, I'm benching his you-know-what, and I think that's the wrong play. They're going to try to get him involved in this contest. This is a game that is, suitable for him to see a lot of good productivity. So for me, I'm starting Kyle Pitts this week again, not even thinking about it, and then we'll reevaluate in week 4 because that's kind of the staple where I'm going. Week 4 for our high-end superstar talents that we expected to boom basically every week. Now week 4 is where I'm going. Kyle Pitts, I'm definitely starting. Zacchaeus and Hodge, they're starting to still continue to, take some catches, but Mariota isn't one to support a plethora of receiving talents, but I do believe that Drake London and Kyle Pitts should have a very good game along with Cordero Patterson in this contest for these Atlanta Falcons. The Baltimore Ravens, how do you give up the game last week to these Miami Dolphins? Fix your defense, Harbaugh. Man, that was awful coverage. So many blown opportunities. Even the one Tyreek Hill touchdown that he took, he had to pull up because the Tua was underthrown, and the defensive back still didn't even try to knock it down. Turn around and look for the ball. Just awful. Ravens got to lick their wounds, and they're going into New England facing Mac Money Jones. Lamar Jackson is a stud start every week. He wants his bag. It's a contract year. He's going to be pushing every single week, man. He's 63 points right now. Complete stud start. J.K. Dobbins and Kenyon Drake, both high risk for me, even though they're saying J.K. could play in this contest. They're going to continue to nurse him along. I knew this was going to happen. Everyone thought J.K. was going to start week 1. It's the Saquon Barkley effect. We saw the same thing and how they did it last year with Saquon in New York. They're doing exactly the same with J.K. Dobbins. Could he be fully recovered? Absolutely. Do they want to nurse him along? That's the plan. And now he's got to get some, true game snaps under his belt before they're going to unleash him. So you're going to literally see maybe another 3 weeks, if not 4 weeks, if J.K. does start this week or play this week at least. You're going to see about 3 weeks before they unleash him and let him loose because he's got to get in game shape and understand what's going on. Low-risk play and mid-risk play for Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay. These guys have been playing very well. Lamar is proving that he is very much capable of being a pocket passer in this league, which is what the goal was, which is why he was betting on himself. And Duvernay and Bateman are being the benefactors of this fabulous play from Lamar Jackson. Mark Andrews, stud start every single week. You're not even going to think twice about it. Isaiah Likely is a high risk, and he is also on the injury report. Baltimore Ravens at the New England Patriots. The Buffalo Bills Mafia. This is a big one, and I don't understand how it got so big. It's Squish the Fish week, and we're going to definitely squish those fish. Yes, I understand the injury report is extremely vast for the Buffalo Bills defense, and this is not a good thing going up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. We get it. These guys are speedsters. What did I tell y'all the entire offseason if you caught my work on my last channel? These guys, they can coexist in this offense in Miami, even with Tua throwing the ball. Now the Bills defense is going to be put to test, but we're talking offense for fantasy football. Josh Allen is the stud start along with Stephon Diggs. These guys are absolutely unstoppable force right now, and they cannot be stopped. Xavier Howard, you're going to have your hands full, and he's on the injury report as well. He's hurting, I believe it's a groin. So, Josh Allen to Diggs has been just absolutely gorgeous, and I foresee that being again in this contest. This running back room, completely high risk for me. Singletary, Cook, and Moss. Until the Bills actually, figure out who they want to utilize, I don't think it's going to happen this year. It's going to be a trio rotation, and you know what? The coaching staff is being true to their word from what they said in the preseason and the offseason that they were going to utilize whoever's at best at each point of the game, and this is what we've seen so far. It's been a trio rotation, and I do believe that's going to continue in situational play. No kidding. Gabe Davis, he is an injury risk with upside, so he's dealing with that ankle, but for me, this reeks of Gabe potentially being that, decoy on the field. And who could benefit from that? Dawson Knox and Isaiah McKenzie. They got to get Dawson Knox going because right now I have no choice but to place a high-risk ranker on this man. It's very difficult to trust him and very difficult to start him. But, in this contest, we got to see the injury report. Gabe Davis is probably going to come down to game time to see if he's going to suit up. But even if he does, just keep in mind that ankle's not 100%. They could utilize him as a decoy. So it's going to be Diggs and then round it out with McKenzie and Knox. But I truly believe this is the game Knox has got to come to play. 2 bust games for Knox. You can't like that whatsoever. Sprinkle with a little Isaiah McKenzie. So we'll see how it goes. I do believe the Bills are going to still be able to put up mammoth amounts of points on the scoreboard, and Miami's going to have to deal with that on the defensive side. Man, Carolina Panthers going up against the New Orleans Saints. Baker Mayfield, hey, he's played all right, and it continues. So now as he continues to grow with the chemistry in this offense, Christian McCaffrey is your low risk, and now DJ Moore I'm putting as that low risk once again because they found the chemistry in this past game between him and Baker Mayfield. I think, it's time for Coach Rule to understand to feed your superstars, and DJ Moore is one of those low-key superstars that if you keep getting him the ball, he's just going to continue to make plays. They look like they're cutting back on Christian McCaffrey's touch count, and this was expected for me. He did pop up on the injury report, but he got, I believe, cleared off on the Friday practice, so he's he's good to go this week. Robbie Anderson is that mid-risk deep shot play every week, and Shi Smith, Ian Thomas, I'm not even looking in their direction at this point, but Shi Smith is starting to get the target share, which is why he's on the list right now. He's starting to catch my eye, so if he starts making some plays, then now we're going to start having a different conversation. But DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and if you're in the pinch, Baker Mayfield has done enough to warrant a low-end quarterback start if you desperately require one. The Chicago Bears, they're going up against the Houston Texans in Chicago. And this is the game that I think Justin Fields breaks out. This is time, okay? We need to see it. Yes, they did play very well defensively against the 49ers. They looked absolutely horrific against Green Bay in week 2. This is the game they needed. They need a get-right game. And Houston, fine, they've been playing fairly well also on the defensive side. Derek Stingley is a baller, the defensive back for Houston. And if he's going to be locked up against Darnell Mooney, that's going to be a fabulous show. But Darnell Mooney, David Montgomery, and Justin Fields are the players that I'm keying in on this contest, because I do believe that Fields should be able to move this ball. Montgomery should be able to run the ball, which will help the play-action pass, and Darnell Mooney does have that high upside. It is time for this man to break out. 2 bust games for him to start the season is not good by any stretch, and we got to see Justin Fields manufacture ways to get him the ball. Pepper him with targets. I don't care if the man's double-teamed, then the coaching staff has to call better plays to get this man open. Call some pick plays. Put him over the middle. I don't care what you do. Start getting Darnell Mooney the ball, and this could be the contest that they have something of a get-right game offensively. But David Montgomery, for me, is a definite start this week. I think he's going to put you up a lot of good points. Cole Kmet, you cannot trust this man. He better be on your waiver wire already, because, 2 games with 0 points. I don't know what's going on with Cole Kmet and the others. They rounded out. This offense just isn't dynamic enough to trust any of the other wide receiver talent. Cincinnati Bengals going to New York to face the New York Jets. And this one is kind of interesting because Joe Burrow and this Cincinnati Bengals, they're 0-2. Can you say Super Bowl hangover? I was saying this in the offseason. What if the expectations were so high now that they can't, support that expectation? It was a fluke that Cincinnati made it all the way to the Super Bowl last year. Let's not kid ourselves. The team is good, no kidding, but they're not put together yet. That was a Cinderella run of sorts, and now they got this hangover. Joe Burrow does not look like himself. The run game has, struggled a little bit, but we can put a lot of blame on this offensive line. Joe Burrow, again, is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the entire NFL, and all that dough they ponied up to pay this offensive line, they're definitely not doing their job. Get back to basics, Zach Taylor, head coach, and make this team run a little bit more efficiently. Do the quick, short plays, get some, chemistry building going. Obviously, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, they're still locking in every single game. So for me, this week, Joey B, you're still starting them. There is a low-risk play against the Jets defense, which is improving. They do look good, but they do give up a lot of yards. Joe Mixon, I'm putting in low risk. It's time to get back to the ground game. Start Joe Mixon. Don't even think about it. Same with Jamar Chase. He's the stud start, and I think, going up against likely Sauce Gardner this week, which will be interesting, but I think Jamar Chase will own that, competition quite well. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. I like Higgins this week as well. The secondary coverage in New York isn't, typically great at this point, so I'm going to say T. Higgins might actually have a better game than Jamar Chase. It's just Jamar Chase is that stud that can break free anytime on the field. Tyler Boyd gets a little bit of a downgrade this week because the 3 are back, and then Hayden Hurst is mixing it up. He's getting a good level of target share, I should say. I believe he's like 12 targets already in 2 games, so you can't hate that for a tight end, and Hayden Hurst might find that end zone even though he's busted it the last 2 games. But the Bengals need a victory, and I fully expect this offense to move in week number 3. The Dallas Cowboys shock everybody, beating those Cincinnati Bengals last week to go 1-1. They take their travels to New York to face the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Cooper Rush, man, did I say last week, could Cooper Rush be Tony Romo? Okay, I'm just kidding, but he looked okay, man. He moved the ball enough, and what did I tell y'all? Zeke was a high-risk play last week, and he completely busted on y'all. I feel bad for anybody that was preaching up for you to draft Zeke Elliott this year, because it just seems like he's done. He seems like he's washed to the point that, he could still likely give you top 10 fantasy football numbers, but it's going to be very inconsistent. It's got to be up against matchup play. Now you see 10.8 points in 2 contests. That is not cutting it for your RB2. Hopefully you got got him lower. He's your RB3, so at least you could throw him on your bench. Tony Pollard is, I don't want to say the better play. It's just they're going to have to mix and match both these running backs to be, efficient and successful without Dak Prescott. That is the caveat in this offense now. You can't necessarily rely on Zeke anymore to carry the workload without your starting quarterback. But, everything in this offense is a dump fire right now, especially with Cooper Rush. CeeDee Lamb is not, performing up to par. Noah Brown, he has a game last week simply because he was left wide open. Michael Gallup, he could be coming back this week. He's been practicing. We'll see. I put him in here. He's a high risk. You're definitely not playing him this week due to the injury, so we got to see what Michael Gallup can do. Dalton Schultz also popped on that injury report, so he's very much a high risk. He's likely not going to suit up with that knee injury. They said it's week to week at this point, but you got to stay cautious. Even if they do suit up Dalton Schultz, I would really caution starting his services this week. So out of this group, CeeDee Lamb and Noah Brown, we'll see how they do perform against the Giants, who have looked a lot better on both sides of the ball, and it is in prime time, so you never know. Guys like to get up on Monday Night Football, so we could see a little bit of an evolution happen with Zeke Elliott coming back to the good graces, but I'd rather play a little Tony Pollard and then maybe stay away from everybody else in this contest. The Denver Broncos, and let's ride, let's die, because you guys have been dying and killing every fantasy manager out there with your horrible offensive productivity. They go up Sunday Night Football against the 49ers, and Russell Wilson, they need a get-right game. If any team had high expectations that needs a get-right game, that is these Denver Broncos. They desperately need to be extremely efficient here. When you got your crowd counting down the clock to help you with clock management, Nathaniel Hackett, man, get your head out your culo, because I don't know what else to tell you, man. You need to fix your coaching ability. He's been overrated for me anyway, but let's get back to the start sit. Russell Wilson, mid-risk level play for me this week, because I got to see a little bit more. It just does not look good at this point. He busted for you the other week, and it's not good to trust. So obviously you need your quarterback to somewhat at least be reliable, if not carry your team. And right now, Russ is not reliable, and he's not carrying your team. This is a very tough play, but even though against San Francisco's very good defense, we shall see on Sunday Night Football in primetime. Russ usually gets up for these games, so you got to think that's a good one. Low risk play for me is Vontae Williams. He's a dog. You just got to give him the ball, give him more opportunities. Melvin Gordon will spell him from time to time, but I do like Vontae this week as a low-risk play. They got to get the run game established, set up that play-action pass. It will only help Russell Wilson throw the ball that much better. Courtland Sutton is the low risk as well. He dogged out last week. I think he's going to do it again against these 49ers, and the reason Jerry Jeudy's still questionable with that shoulder, likely to suit up, but I do want to say that maybe they will pepper Courtland Sutton just a little bit more. Jerry Jeudy, if healthy and he comes back, he's still going to be a good fantasy producer, making up words, but he should be a very good producer once again for you if healthy. The other two, Cleveland and Albert O, man, you cannot trust these two whatsoever, and this is part of the problem. You're sprinkling in other tight ends where Albert O should have been your dog on the tight end position, just hasn't come to fruition, so you're trusting anybody. It's Vontae this week with a little Courtland Sutton. I like them to play. Very good contest on Sunday Night Football. The Detroit Lions, the no pushover Lions anymore. They look good, and what can you say? Jared Goff is the savior in Motown. And he looks good, man. 42 points already, 0 bust games and 2 starts for him this season. That's fabulous for an offense that absolutely looks very, very good on the field. This isn't just, speak in garbage time. They look good. They're competing in all 4 quarters, and Coach Campbell has them ready to play on both sides of the ball. Jared Goff is definitely playing very well. DeAndre Swift is playing extremely well. I got low-risk starts for them this week against the Minnesota Vikings, who took one on the chin last week against the Eagles on Monday Night Football. And it's in Minnesota, so you got to understand, but both dome teams, that Minnesota wants to get back in the good graces and have a bounce-back game, but the Lions are not, I don't want to say they're for real, but they're for real from what they used to be, so, now we can start trusting their services just a little bit. Goff and Swift, for me, I think will do very well this week. Goff should definitely hit and have another boom game, especially against a defense that is going to be without Harrison Smith. I think Jared Goff is going to feast. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I got to say, I didn't like your comments about Diami Brown. You're basically throwing a dude under the bus that didn't do anything to you. Diami's standing there like, dude, what the hell did I ever do to you to call me out? I understand you were mad at the teams for drafting Diami Brown ahead of you, but Amon-Ra, come on, man, clean it up, man. I like you, and that was just not cool on, Okay, we'll move on. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a stud start, no kidding. Every single week now, he is balling. I called him a lesser Robert Woods on his scouting report when he came out of the draft, and he's proven it. He is just absolutely dynamic. You get the ball in this man's hands, he's going to make a play, and this is what is, Jared Goff, and when he was talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown, wanted to create the Cooper Kupp connection with Amon-Ra. It's looking like they've done it. The chemistry is very good. They know where each other are going to be, and Goff is hitting Amon-Ra on the regular 51 points already in 2 games. You cannot write that script any better for the Detroit Lions. DJ Chark gets a mid-level risk for me against Minnesota. I like this start for Chark this week. If you got flex problems, I do not hate Chark being in your flex position because he does have that upside to make a big play. Now without Harrison Smith on the field, they could go deep quite a bit in this game, and DJ Chark could be the beneficiary. TJ Hawkinson, I am out until further notice. I cannot plug and play this man. He continues to get injured. He continues to drop passes, and he is just not the same dude that we expected him to be at this point. Until further notice, I cannot suggest starting him. If he hits this week, that's great. He can hit on my bench because I will not sit there biting my fingernails waiting for Hawkinson to do something on the field and then be disappointed at the end of the game. So that's up to y'all. I am not starting him. That's my advice this week for TJ Hawkinson. The Green Bay Packers going up against the Tampa Bay Bucks and Aaron Rodgers. They got, good in a good way this past week. Low risk for Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and A.J. Dillon, this week once again. This is how this offense looks like it's going to morph and move this season. You can't hate it. They're going to go into the ground and pound game. They used Aaron Jones a lot this past week. It looked very, very good. Now it's going to be a problem for opposing defenses to understand which way they're going to gash them on the ground. Is it going to be heavy pound with A.J. Dillon, or is it going to be finesse with Aaron Jones? So I do like that about this offense a lot, and I think you install a little bit more passing plays to your running backs. It will only help out this wide receiver core that is struggling to find a wide receiver one, obviously without Devontae Adams now. So Romeo Doubs, Allen Lazard, Christian Watson. I got mid risks on Doubs and Lazard, high risks for Watson and Robert Tonyan this week. I really want to believe in Robert Tonyan, but again, this is a situation where you got to show me now. It's week 3. I can't trust you. You got to put some points on the board. You got to see some red zone targets and upside appeal. I cannot trust it right now. Christian Watson looks to be, on the outs right now. Sammy Watkins is on the outs from Aaron Rodgers. Just not trusting him. Sammy Watkins is on the, I thought he was going to play. He all of a sudden is out. He's out with an injury, so now you're going to have to trust Dobbs this week, and the coaching staff is saying this is the contest. They're going to feed him a lot, so I would definitely look to potentially see him, have very good upside. I could have put a good upside play here, but I'm still putting mid-level risk because I do believe against these Buccaneers, they're going to utilize the running backs in the pass game a lot to keep those linebackers honest, so we'll see how that goes in that contest. The Houston Texans going up against the Bears, like I said, in Chicago. Everybody's a high risk except Brandon Cooks, basically. I mean, Brandon Cooks in this contest, he should be able to break free. Even though it is long travel to Chicago, I do like Brandon Cooks in this contest a lot, and I think Davis Mills with a mid-level risk for me is an okay play. I would not start, obviously, Davis Mills, but I got a mid-level risk because I do believe 15 points is not out of the question for this man. 15 points plus against the Bears defense that hasn't proven to be consistent for 4 quarters just yet, outside of rainy game in versus San Francisco. But I mean, you can't trust it. For me, the issue here that I have, or actually I'm going to put my stamp on this one. I'm going to say Dameon Pierce has a game. And this is going to be music to a lot of people's ears who support Dameon Pierce. I am not a Dameon Pierce supporter. I did not like his game coming out of college. I really questioned it coming in the NFL, especially with a team like the Houston Texans. However, this is the game that if he's going to do something to prove that he is a good, reliable running back in the NFL, this is the game he needs to do it. And I think that if they give him a solid 15 to 20 touches in this contest, he should be able to break 100 yards. And if they do find themselves inside the 20 in the red zone, he should be able to score a touchdown this week. So I'm putting mid-level risk on him this week because I do believe this is the game that he does produce, and then we'll reevaluate him next week. But if he doesn't do it against the Chicago Bears, then I told y'all already that I was out, and now I'm going to be even further out on this man. Outside of that, Brandon Cooks is the only one I'm firing up with full confidence because he is a low-risk start, and he should be able to make a lot of plays. The Indianapolis Colts going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are doing very well so far this season, and I mean, Matt Ryan and these Colts are not. I mean, what are you doing, Indianapolis? You get shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you know how difficult it is to be shut out in the NFL? And you did it with authority. Yes, I understand you had injuries. Michael Pittman was out. Alec Pierce was out. You had, second and third string wide receivers in, but come on, man. Run the ball. Get it to Nyheim Hines. I'm questioning Frank Reich a lot these days, and his seat might be getting hot because they keep rotating quarterbacks. They can't figure it out, and now you got Matt Ryan in here, and he looks even worse than what Carson Wentz did. Frank Reich, man, you're on the hot seat for me. I will not start Matt Ryan this week. I don't even care if it's super flex. He has been placed on my bench until further notice. JT, obviously, plug-and-play start. Nyheim Hines, a high risk for me. So every single year we fall for the, Coach Reich stories of Nyheim Hines being a thing in fantasy football again. You're not trusting what he's saying. 2 bus games in 2 weeks, and this offense can't even pass the ball, man. Bench Hines, I am not even looking in that direction. Michael Pittman is back from injury. He found himself off the injury report. He gets plugged and played as a low risk instantly right away. So everyone says, how can you have Matt Ryan as a high risk and Michael Pittman as a low risk? Because, the wide receiver could have a big day where Matt Ryan could throw some interceptions and go underneath the 15-point threshold to give him a boom game. So for me, I think Pittman is still going to be your very good start every single week, where Matt Ryan right now, he is on my bench until further notice. Paris Campbell, don't even look in my direction, sir, because I was supportive of you for how long, and you continue to not, pay it forward to me, so you're on my bench. I'm not even looking in your direction. Don't even look at me, Paris Campbell. You're killing me, man. Ashton Doolin, Alec Pierce, okay, I'm going to go sleeper upside for Alec Pierce if he does get some snaps and he does start this game. He is off the injury report from the concussion, so they got to start moving this ball around to all these other wide receivers. Ashton Doolin is a decent wide receiver that does make plays, but I think he gets overstepped by other talents. So that says a lot to me about his game, that they don't necessarily trust him to be that guy, that secondary piece, where Alec Pierce should be that guy. Sleeper upside for me coming off the concussion. Mo Cox, Mo problems. It's nothing but problems. I won't even start you as well, sir. You are on the bench. Jacksonville Jaguars going to L.A., man, to face the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence, what I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all about Trevor Lawrence? I told you he looked good. He was progressing in that previous contest, and then he comes out. He looks absolutely phenomenal. Reading the field, this is what we want to see, progression. Okay, I'm not saying he looked like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, but we want to see the progression in these quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, to make a step forward each and every game now. This past game that I did watch Trevor Lawrence was the best I've seen in the NFL when it came to reading the field. 3 and 4 reads. Checking the ball down, throwing the ball away, taking off when he needed to. Like, this is what I wanted to see. Progression in your game. Low-risk play for me this week against the Chargers. Even though the defense is very good, I think he's going to have to pass the ball quite a bit in this game, and especially without Justin Herbert, potentially, I'm going to put that on the caveat that they could get the ball back just a little bit more. We'll see. Travis Etienne, low upside now. You're almost at a high risk for me, Travis. Don't fail me now, bud. I mean, I've been preaching you too, and you just, okay, fine. James Robinson just overstepped him. What can we say? James Robinson is just killing it. 34 points on the season in 2 contests. This is the reason Travis Etienne is getting looked over by the coaching staff. You just cannot bench James Robinson right now on the field and in fantasy football. It's just impossible. Travis is going to get his sprinkles from time to time, but until James does struggle in the run game, I think Travis Etienne is going to be, the afterthought in this offense until they get him in the pass game. Maybe some PPR upside, but how can you do that when your pass catchers like Christian Kirk are doing so darn well? I slept on Kirk. I wish I didn't. Now I'm licking my wounds because it was wrong on that one. He's a definite low-risk start for me against these Chargers. Even though the Chargers do have a very, very good defense, I still like Christian Kirk a lot this week. I think that, out of all the players that, teams sign to big deals. Christian Kirk is one of these guys that, he signed a crazy deal that none of us could even fathom, but he's been producing. And I think that this offense has enough pieces around that there isn't a true number one wide receiver, which makes it very difficult to cover everybody. So now you got Zay Jones. He's got the PPR upside. Sprinkle in a little Marvin Jones. And look who's back is Evan Ingram. I love it, man, because I was saying if Evan Ingram could, fix his dropping problems and stay out of the medical room, his talent is going to speak volumes on the field. And this is what it did. He's getting a lot of target share. So you cannot key on any individual on this offense to say they're the number one target, because now Trevor Lawrence, as long as he continues to progress the field, find the open man, take what the defense gives you. Good Lord, this Jacksonville Jaguar team, you guys should start smiling. Right now, it's early. I don't want to put them in, anoint them as anything just yet, but I do like this team a lot. Evan Ingram does have good upside this week. Christian Kirk, James Robinson, and Trevor Lawrence are low-risk plays for me if you want to start them this week. Kansas City Chiefs going to Indianapolis to face off against the Colts, and stud start for Patrick Mahomes every single week. We know this. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he has impressed me so much that he's a low-risk play right now for me. I did not expect this. We know he has talent. I'm not saying that I didn't know what the player was. I was out. I couldn't stomach it anymore. The injuries, the no ability on the goal line, not scoring me touchdowns, going to Tyreek and not dumping down to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This was my problem the last couple of years. I hated every ounce of it. And then when he did start get going, then he gets injured, goes into the medical room. But now this year he looks healthy, he looks fresh, and he looks good. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, definitely a low risk start for me this week. Juju, come on, bro. I was hoping that, the PPR upside was going to make you at least be a viable wide receiver one in this offense. It is not. Every single week there's somebody different, catching the ball. Watson catches a touchdown. You can't peg anybody in this offense as well to be the wide receiver one. So Juju right now, mid-risk level play. I do think they're going to look for him a little bit more in this contest. Patrick Mahomes should be able to find him over the middle. No Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, whatever you want to say. He's still out, hasn't come back from his injury in Indianapolis. So the middle of the field will be open for Juju to feast. I really hope that he can get his game back on track, because I really do like him in this offense and think he could be absolutely stupendous if given the opportunity. Mecole Hardman does give you some mid-level risk again this week, kind of hovering around that 15-point threshold in 2 weeks. So you're getting just under the 10-point boom rate, but it's a potential upside for a deep shot again against these Colts who are struggling on the defensive side. Travis Kelce is your stud start. I'm not trusting MVS whatsoever in this offense, because Patrick Mahomes said it right. They will spread the ball around to every wide receiver they have, and he's been doing that in the first 2 weeks, so it's very hard to trust any one of them. Juju at this point is the guy. The Las Vegas Raiders 0-2 to start the season against the Tennessee Titans, who are also 0-2. They took a thrashing to the Buffalo Bills last week, and the Raiders just gave away the game to the Cardinals. The last overtime fumble, if I'm not mistaken, or late game fumble, just crazy stuff going on in Vegas. Derek Carr still remains a low-risk play for me. I think that based on how this offense is, they're going to have their struggles. It is a new offensive system under Josh McDaniels, so you got to have the growing pains, even though they do have, stellar talent on this offensive side. Stud start again for Davante Adams. He was locked up last week quite a bit. Did not give you the top-end potential and point production we always require from Davante, but I think this week they're going to be forced to do the force feeding to Davante Adams and a Darren Waller, because Josh Jacobs is dealing with an illness. He did not fly with the team, so he could potentially fly out on Saturday, but we shall see. Keep your eye on that. If Josh Jacobs does not play in this game, Brandon Bolin is still dealing with a hamstring injury, so that could mean Zamir Zeus White gets his first start, and you gotta love it, because Zamir is a big fan favorite of mine. I think he's a stellar running back as well. And potentially he takes over this backfield with a couple good showings. But, we'll see how Josh Jacobs is if he's going to get better medically healthy, from his illness to play in this contest. Tyron Johnson, Mac Hollis, you can't trust that. So it's for me, if Jacobs is out, likely I foresee a lot of passing in this game, just like how Josh Allen fed Stephon Diggs. We could see Derek Carr trying to feed Davante all day long, and we shall see about that. Those are two of the safer starts this week from the Vegas Raiders. The Los Angeles Chargers, this one is a big problem going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, And this is a massive, massive problem for LA because Justin Herbert hurt his ribs. There's some, I believe, torn cartilage in the ribs. You saw he was struggling to throw the ball last Thursday night. Yes, it was a longer week of rest. He's still struggling. He wasn't practicing much this week. He is truly a game-time decision. They're saying questionable, but as far as I've heard so far, he is a game-time decision. It's a very high-risk injury risk for me to play this man right now. How can you trust it if he's playing hurt that bad? What if he takes another big shot to the ribs? Yes, he's going to probably wear a big flat jacket, to cover up the ribs. Yes, he's a tough guy, but, can you trust this? I can't trust this stuff. I get it. He's a superstar in the making. But, I'm going to leave that to y'all. You guys set your rosters. I don't set your rosters. I just hopefully provide you some advice. I'm very much questioning a start for Justin Herbert this week. If he takes the field, just, watch what's going on in pregame and then make your determination. Low-risk play for me for Austin Eckler, even though, Chase Daniel will probably come in the game if Herbert does not play. They're going to have to force-feed the ball to Austin Eckler, I truly believe. So I think volume will be key for Eckler this week, even though he hasn't performed up to par like we wanted to see just yet. One bust game already this year. I don't like it. He should be no busts until week 4. 25% bust rate per 4 weeks is a good staple for an Austin Eckler. So hopefully he is able to perform. Keenan Allen similarly still dealing with that hamstring injury. So he is an injury risk again this week. Even with Chase Daniel at quarterback, he's capable enough to at least throw the ball up to Mike Williams. So I'm putting Mike Williams as a low risk start this week. I think he's going to do very well, especially if Keenan is out again this week. Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter, they're turning into some decent plays, man. DeAndre Carter, 20 points. He's giving you 10 points per game. So how can you hate that whatsoever? If you need a flex play, right now DeAndre Carter is giving you some good upside where Josh Palmer, he saved his fantasy day with a touchdown. So we'll see. Gerald Everett is that low-risk play I truly love, and I've been preaching it for 2 weeks so far this season. And look, no bust games, man. 23 points. He is one of the top tight ends right now at the position in fantasy football, so fire him up this week, even with Chase Daniel, because they will be looking for that short option and check downs to the tight end. But LA, man, good Lord, keep your eye on Justin Herbert. No kidding. The Los Angeles Rams, the other team from LA, going to Arizona to face those Cardinals who fought hard, like I said, and they ended up pulling out the contest. Matthew Stafford, low-risk play for me this week. I think he's going to be able to at least gash this defense a little bit. They need to get a little bit better. I don't know what the heck's going on with Sean McVay. They don't look as good. They almost gave up the game again last week. I did not like what I was seeing. You got to get your mojo back. I get it. You won the Super Bowl. Life was good. Your feet were up. You were top of the world. Right now, you don't look very fearful to me as a football team, and you guys got to get back that, formula to be one of the feared, offensive productions in this entire NFL. Cam Akers, mid-risk for me. I did like his game last week, but I think they're kind of nursing him to get back to full health. But if James Robinson can come back from that Achilles, so can you, Cam. So I'm still going to, say mid-level risk until you show me a little more. Darrell Henderson is that guy scoring touchdowns for you, so he does have good upside in this offense right now until Cam Akers is trusted and more healthy. We shall see how that goes. Cooper Kupp, without question, you guys know stud start. Low-risk play once again for me goes to Allen Robinson because I do believe now that they're going to continue to force-feed him the ball, especially against Arizona, who doesn't have the best of defensive backs, there is going to be opportunity for Allen Robinson to, pull off whatever coverage Cooper Kupp does receive. So I do like him as a low-risk play this week again. Tyler Higbee, okay, mid-level risk. He did have a good contest, but then he disappears for the next 2 games likely. So I'm a cautionary play, mid-level risk for me for Tyler Higbee this week. Those Miami Dolphins squish the fish. I'm going to say it again because I'm a Bills fan. You guys know this. But anyway, the Fins look good. What can you say? You can't say anything bad about Tua Tagovailoa. He came out, he threw those interceptions, and then he came out and he balled out. What did he have? He had over 40 points last week, jumping his totals above 55. He's got an offense, though. He's got some speed on this offense with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle time because, these guys are so dynamic and so explosive. Look at their point production, basically on par. And I was saying, these two guys could coexist together because they're going to be so difficult to stop. And this is what they're proving to be. Yes, okay, I get the arguments that the blown coverages in Baltimore, just absolutely, the turnovers, the poor play in the second half. And what can you say? I'm not going to say that Tua played poorly because the defense had, lapses. Tua played well enough. He took the opportunity, what was given to him, and he excelled. So what can you say? I'm not going to bash a guy for that, but Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle going up against the Buffalo Bills, who are injured desperately and decimated on that back end right now. So the rookie Elam, he's going to have a very big, task at hand. He's got the speed, so I want to see which one he's going to cover, whether it be Hill or Waddle. Going up against Tyreek Hill is a tough task to say the least. But, okay, one of these guys will definitely have a day, and I think you got to take away one of them. So if that's the case, I know they're both very good. I would try to take away Tyreek Hill with a double team. That's what I would do if I was the Buffalo Bills. Let Jalen Waddle go. And, I mean, hopefully the safety can cover him. But it's highly unlikely you're going to stop and corral both these individuals right now. So, for me, both low-risk plays, especially against the Bills, who do have a lot of injuries, like I said, on the defensive side. The caveat does go to Mike Gesicki this week. He always plays good against the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what it is. He just gears up to play the Bills Mafia. So, definitely low-risk play for me, even though, last week he did, make that wonderful catch in the end zone. But this week against the Bills, he could definitely have another very sound contest. He just likes playing the Bills. What can you say? But Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, without question in my mind, they could definitely gash this Buffalo Bills defense. But, if we're talking game predictions, we'll talk about that later. But, I mean, I think still it's going to be score for Josh Allen. They're going to have to match it because the defense, he's going to have to carry this team this week, Josh Allen, because the defense does have a lot of injury. Minnesota, let's move on to those Vikings who were, played very poorly on Monday Night Football against the Eagles. They are facing the Detroit Lions. Kirk Cousins need a bounce back game big time, and I think he does get it. Low risk play for me this week. He typically doesn't see two very poor games back to back, so Kirk Cousins, I'm okay. Low risk, fire him up if you need him. I'm putting Dalvin. No more stud start for you until you show me something, because you're killing me, Dalvin. You and Kyle Pitts, you're killing me. I was so promoting you, and I just can't do it. Low risk play for me. I want to see the Vikings get back to that ground game. Utilize Dalvin Cook a little bit more. Where is this? We're going to use Dalvin Cook in the pass game quite a bit this season. Where is that? I haven't seen that at all this season. You're lying to us, coach. Get Dalvin the ball, put it in his hands. It'll take all the pressure off of Kirk Cousins. I mean, what was Kirk doing last week, man? Throwing a sleigh like he was his wide receiver? Come on, man. Justin Jefferson, JJ stud start. Obviously, he was locked up by Slay last week, and I mean, he needs a bounce back. Adam Thielen, you're going to be on a high risk for me very, very soon if you don't start producing. I got him at mid-level risk right now. I don't like how they're not utilizing any other weapons in this offense. I don't like it whatsoever. Utilize Adam Thielen. He's not washed. He still has the ability to pull coverage and make the plays. So do that in this offense, coach. I just don't get it, man. Irv Smith made a huge drop that would have changed the contest on Monday Night Football. I got to see more out of Irv Smith before I can promote his services, but I do got him as a mid-level risk versus these Lions, who are not a pushover anymore on the defensive side. Minnesota got to get right, so we'll see how they do. New England facing up against Baltimore at home. Mac Money Jones, and I mean, there's not a lot to get excited about in New England offensively. I'm sorry, I just can't do it right now. Mac Jones, he's had subpar games. This offense does not look good. Yes, they got back to the ground game with Damian Harris. 2 thumbs up for me for that, because that's what I want to see out of this offense. But they got to start using Ramondre a little bit more. Start using this ground game a lot, man. Ground and pound heavy should be your MO in New England. That will only help Mac Jones find his wide receivers. But again, you got the same problems. Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, they're okay. They're number 2 wide receivers trying to be a number 1 wideout. So, I mean, mid-level risks for Jacoby and Nelson Aguilar, because, I mean, at least they're giving you the 22 points in 2 weeks. That's good enough to put in your flex and be somewhat satisfied. It's not great, but I mean, it's around Terry McLaurin numbers right now, so you can't hate that whatsoever. Hunter Henry, I am not looking in your direction either, sir. I mean, don't even look at me right now. I can't stand the sight of you because you're not doing anything. 3 points, man, for all that tight end money New England paid up, man. I can't believe what's going on with this tight end room. The New Orleans Saints, let's go up against Carolina. They got a lot of injuries. Alvin Kamara questionable. He should play this week with the ribs. Jameis Winston has got injuries all over his body, and Taysom Hill questionable with ribs ribs as well. So, I mean, mid-level risk for Winston because he is playing hurt. But, I mean, against his Carolina Panthers defense, which is decent, Carolina's looking for that win. They play New Orleans very strong typically, so we shall see. I'm not overly trusting Jameis Winston this week. Alvin Kamara is an injury risk for me as well. Even if he does play, it's going to be a risk. How injured are those ribs? You know, what is he going to be able to do in an offense that isn't consistently passing the ball very well deep? I don't like it whatsoever, but if Alvin Kamara does play, you got to plug and play him because he is one of those studs. Michael Thomas is very much low risk for me. He is back, 35 points in 2 games. Slant boy is back, and you got to love it. Jarvis Landry, mid-level risk for me. He's always going to give you the PPR upside in this offense. Where I'm going to talk it up is Chris Olave. So high upside this week, and I think this is the week we could see him break out. Yes, I did say this last week as well. I gave him a good upside last week. But however, you know why I'm excited? Because Chris Olave led the league led the wide receivers in the league in ADOT. That means average depth of target, if you guys are not aware. And that is a monster stat for Chris Olave because now all of a sudden they're trying him deep. So there was a lot of double coverage, and Jameis just was not looking the safeties off. If they can figure this out, this is such a big deal for this offense because then Olave could be that deep threat play that could get you high-end potential touchdown upside every single week in this offense while Michael Thomas is taking the shorts and while Landry is also taking the outs and the mid-range level plays. Chris Olave is a guy I just want to see at least have one game under his feet that's a monster, and then we'll start being able to dissect his game that much more. I like Chris Olave a lot this week against Carolina. They got to stretch that field, keep the defense honest. Chris Olave could be a sneaky high upside play for you this week. Taysom Hill, get out, man. Get out when you can. It was one game. He's got injured ribs. We don't know how this is going to go. I don't like it whatsoever. I'm staying away from Taysom Hill this week. New York Giants versus the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Danny Pennies, he's starting to look like Danny Dimes again. We can almost lift him up. We'll call him Danny Nickel because, I mean, he's got to, you got to crawl before you walk. I'm just saying. But Daniel Jones, he looks okay. He doesn't look great, but he's looking efficient. He's taking what the defense is giving him, and I can't hate that whatsoever. They're 2-0. They're out here winning contests. Saquon does have a little bit of a sidestep last week. He should get back to good graces against the Dallas Cowboys defense. I totally foresee him to at least score a touchdown this week on Monday Night Football. It's prime time. He's going to want to showcase his talents. Definitely a stud start for me for Saquon. Sterling Shepard, he's climbing up my board as well. I told y'all last week some start sit questions y'all gave me, man. I was saying Shepard is going to be likely the guy to, has got the most chemistry with Daniel Jones, most comfortable wide receiver that they do have. Kadarius Toney, he's always injured again. He's still on the injury report. What can you say? He doesn't even play a lot, so I don't know when I'm gonna trust Kadarius Toney. How long are you guys willing to trust his services before you bow out? Because right now, he is not moving from my bench. I'm telling you that right now. Richie James, he's at least making some waves to be a mid-level play. He's got some PPR upside, but this offense isn't passing the ball enough to support multiple wide receivers at this point. So you got to say Richie James, keep watching him. Definitely not going to play him, but just keep watching him. Kenny Golladay, I'm not even looking in your direction either. He's at the Holiday Inn, man, already putting his feet up, waiting for the team to cut him so he can just, bank his money. But, I mean, that's it for this New York Giants offense this week. I got Barkley, I got Shepard, potentially Toney. Want to see him before I can trust him, but that's the New York Giants this week. New York Jets up against the Cincinnati Bengals. And Joe Flacco, what year is this, man? I'm saying Joe Flacco is a low-risk play in week number 3? Come on, man. This is not like 2010. I don't know what is going on. Joey Flacco, he's looking good. No bust games for this man in 2 contests. 2 contests for a 37, 38-year-old quarterback who was a backup, if you can believe it. 42 total points for fantasy football for Joe Flacco. He's moving this offense. What can you say? You can't hate that. Breece Hall is a low-risk play for me. He did have his, somewhat breakout, little bit of a smidge of a breakout last week. He looked good, and I think they're going to continue to feed this man the ball. Michael Carter might start seeing his role, pull back just a little bit, maybe more in the PPR game, so he does have PPR upside still that you can trust, but this all comes at the hands of Garrett Wilson. Yeah, alpha wide receiver. You got to love it. He absolutely balled out last week. He's getting the JJ vibes, what everybody's saying, and I tend to agree. I was saying he was an alpha. He was my highest graded wide receiver coming out of this past draft class, and he is repaying everybody that drafted his services. He was on the waiver still at 50%, come the waiver wire turn. He's a low-risk play at this point. Yes, okay, maybe it was a one-off. Maybe he has a setback, but how can you not play this man right now, especially up against the Bengals who have been leaking and hemorrhaging points? You got to love it. Elijah Moore, this is very interesting. I mean, he's got risk, but he does have upside because of his electric playmaking ability. They're just not giving him the opportunity. So maybe we continue to see this happen where Garrett Wilson continues to be the guy. Corey Davis is the secondary option. And then, okay, sprinkle in a little bit of Elijah Moore. Right now, you can't start him. I will not do it until I see more. He does have risk, but he does have upside, but I would rather see that upside on my bench than continue to start him and see those, small digits under 10 points on my starting lineup. You can't stand it. Tyler Conklin, he's turning into a very good tight end, streaming option. Yes, under 10 points every single week right now, but I mean, the tight end, position is extremely difficult to always get productivity. So if it's 8.7 to 10 points, you got to take it and smile at this point. Conklin is a decent streaming option this week. The Philadelphia Eagles, man, where'd these guys come from all of a sudden? They got this whole thing put together. I mean, we knew this team was good. We knew that the trade for A.J. Brown was going to uplift this offense potentially. This team looks good. I mean, they look good on both sides of the ball. With Bradbury and Slate locking down, coverage. You got Jalen Hurts, doing the Superman stuff out there. You got to love what he's doing. But I got to say, I'm gonna cut it off right here when it comes to fantasy and talk real football. This was the best game that I have seen Jalen Hurts as a pro on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. He was doing the similar stuff that I was saying about Trevor Lawrence, wanting to see his growth. This is the growth that I wanted to see from a Jalen Hurts. He was super decisive, man. Took off when he needed to, stood in the pocket when he needed to. His arm talent was super sharp. He was accurate. I had nothing but positives and gleaming reviews for Jalen Hurts this past week. If he continues to progress in this manner, Jalen Hurts, man, the Eagles might have found themselves a quarterback that they can rely on for the future. He looked very, very good. Definite stud start for me this week against the Washington Commies. Miles Sanders is that low risk right now where Kenneth Gainwell is starting to fall as a high risk because Miles just looks good. 27 points, 0 bust games in the first 2 games. When everyone was out on the Miles Sanders bandwagon, I still got some shares. Hope you guys did too. I said the value was too good for Miles Sanders for you to fade him. I mean, you could get him as your RB4, and I was smiling. That's what I got him, RB4 for Miles Sanders. Now he's my RB2. You got to love it. So, I mean, it works out in fantasy sometimes. A.J. Brown, he is a low-risk play every single week now. He is the one elevating this pass game, making Jalen Hurts that much better. You got to love when wide receivers can do that for a quarterback who is trying to figure out his passing aptitude. This is what A.J. Brown is doing for this offense, and you got to love it as an Eagles fan. Devonta Smith, I mean, he finally, is involved this past week. He looks decent. Zach Pascal, high-risk play. Dallas Goedert is a low risk as well. So you got pieces that you can manipulate and play with here. We'll see if Jalen Hurts now can take it to the next level and start supporting multiple pieces per week because Devonta Smith's game came at the expense of an A.J. Brown last week. So we'll see. I'm very curious, but when it comes to those Philadelphia Eagles, you got a lot of good low-risk plays with stud starts in there this week against Washington. Those San Francisco 49ers at Denver at the Mile High on Sunday Night Football. Jimmy G is now the quarterback after Trey Lance. We know he broke his ankle, and, I mean, he's done for the season. Jimmy G comes in, gets San Francisco the victory, and then, I mean, now what do we say about this offense again with Jimmy G? So it's going to be the very similar, type of style that we got used to in the past. I totally foresee that happening once again, where Jeff Wilson now is the replacement running back. They're going to utilize him. They re-signed Tevin Coleman to the practice squad. They got Jordan Mason, who is necessarily, whatever. We don't know what he is going to be in fantasy just yet. We'll see how Kyle Shanahan does utilize this man. But Jeff Wilson will be your dog from the backfield. But Jimmy Garoppolo's got the ability to at least spread the ball with some consistency. He's going to turn the ball over for you at times that you don't want him to do that. But he's going to be able to consistently spread the ball to his wide receiver core, Deebo Samuel. Now this is an uptick for Brandon Ayuk. I did not like what I was seeing from Lance. He just wasn't going to his wide receivers where he should have been, like he was doing in training camp. So now you're talking Jimmy G understands where to go with the ball. This uplifts Brandon Ayuk's stock that much more. High upside for me this week against Denver, who also has injuries to Patrick Surtain and then Simmons, the safety. They're injured. I don't know if Surtain's going to play this week. Didn't see him on the injury report, but I mean, he's hurting. He's hampered. Simmons is hurting, and he's out for 4 games. there's open opportunity for this wide receiver core in San Francisco to make some plays. So Brandon Ayuk, definite high upside. The return of George Kittle and his locks, flowing from his helmet. Now we're going to see the first contest for George Kittle. How healthy is he? I got a mid-level risk only because of the injury. Outside of that, talent-wise, George Kittle's a plug-and-play every week. If you have George Kittle, he is starting. They already confirmed that he's going to play this week. Fire him up, man. You drafted him for a reason. Fire him up in week 3 because that's one of those starts on an injury that I would absolutely hate to see on my bench because we know he's an all-star, and if he's on the field, he's likely going to ball out. So pray for good health, but I do got him as a mid-level risk only for health issues aside. Outside of that, we know he is an absolute stud and a baller. Seattle Seahawks, man, taking on the Atlanta Falcons. And okay, this game could be pretty ugly, but it could have some upside in point productivity. Geno Smith, mid-level risk for me this week. I think he's going to be able to move the ball against this Atlanta Falcons defense. So if you're in a pinch for a quarterback and maybe super flex and you got Geno, I don't hate it, but hopefully you have better options elsewhere. Rashad Penny was very, very close to getting a high-risk play for me this week, but it's the Falcons, and this is one of these games that he could actually break free and have a very good showing. You were so close, Penny, because you've looked like dog poo so far on the field, and I just can't stand it when my running backs continue to fail me. Mid-level risk. If you have better options, I would caution to start Penny this week. I would like to see him on your bench if you have better options at this point. Kenneth Walker, I want to see him do something in this contest because I would prefer him to be the lead back in this offense. Kidding you not, Rashad Penny would be a great change of pace back where Kenneth Walker could be the lead guy in this offense and make them that much more dynamic. Hopefully, mid-level risk. We should see a good even split in carries between these two gentlemen. Both are sits, though, for me, unless you have no other choice. DK Metcalf, this is the game, okay? We talk about DK, and I said it before, already 2 bust games this season. We knew that this was going to be very highly volatile for him this year. Very inconsistent with porous quarterback play. We knew this was going to happen. I'll repeat that for a third time. This is the game, though. This is the game where they're going to force feed DK Metcalf. If you have DK, don't be afraid. Start him this week. I'm going to put it out on the ledge. If I'm wrong, I should not be wrong, man. I did the studies. I did all the analytical work. He should be able to break free in this game. They should force feed him the ball. Geno will get him the ball. I could see a touchdown against these Falcons. It is in Seattle, so we'll see how this goes. But this is the week. If for DK owners, you might get some relief here, and I'm putting the flag. I'm stamping the flag in the sand. Let's go, DK, man. Don't fail me, buddy. Tyler Lockett, mid-level risk because, okay, he found some good upside last week, and now this is why I'm saying I think if they found the upside with Lockett last week, now's the week to confuse the defense. Go to DK Metcalf. He should be able to dominate this defense. That's why I'm saying he's just too good for this defense to, corral and keep him in the cupboards, so to speak. But Noah Fant and Will Disley, both high risks for me, even though Will Disley did, overproduce Noah Fant right now. I was out on Noah Fant. He's a good talent, but again, man, can you trust it in this offense that can't support multiple passing options? I just can't do it. So those two guys, I'm definitely out this week. Do not play them whatsoever. Those Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they got a laundry list of injuries. Look at this crap, man. Chris Godwin out. We got Mike Evans out on the suspension. Fournette, Uncle Lenny, man, he's questionable with the hamstring. Perryman, he's questionable with a knee. Russell Gage, hamstring. Julio Jones, knee, questionable. They're all questionable. How can you trust any of this, man, at this point? Yes, they're 2-0, but it's a sloppy 2-0 for Tampa Bay. Tom Brady I almost wanted to do it. You know me as a Bills fan, I would have loved to put the high-risk capper on Tom Brady this week, but Tom Brady would come back and punch me in the face if I did that. So I'm going to be nice. And I put a mid-level risk on him this week against Green Bay. He always gets up to play Aaron Rodgers, so you got to like what he's doing. Low-end point totals right now, 20 points. That's not Tom Brady-esque, but they're dealing with a lot of problems in this offense with injuries. Uncle Lenny, okay, he didn't play great this past week, but he's dealing with a hammy. So mid-level risk for me against Green Bay, who is, has given up a decent amount of yardage on the ground. David Montgomery was able to find lanes, so Uncle Lenny should be able to find him as well. Every single wide receiver right now, I don't know what to do with this team. Russell Gage, Julio Jones, Brashard Perriman, all got injury risk. If I'm a betting man, which I am, so I'm going to say it right now, I don't really like the Russell Gage thing because he did not practice on Friday. They did not call it a veteran rest day. He just popped up on the injury report on Friday, man. What are you doing, Gage? So I'm out. I don't like Russell Gage this week. If they do say he is healthy come game time, then okay, that changes my perspective. But as of today, I cannot say it. Julio Jones, extremely high risk. So actually, between the two and Russell Gage, I'll talk myself through this right now, even though I did all my work, my pre-work before, and I had it. As I'm talking, I'm convincing myself otherwise. Russell Gage, if he's playing and Julio's playing, I'm going Julio. Let's just call it that way, okay? If Julio's playing, they say he's healthy, I'm definitely going with Julio Jones because I think that Tom Brady is going to look for Julio for that big play ability, the trusted play ability, and I think that comes with a veteran like Julio Jones. Brashard Perriman, I don't think is as injured as is coming off, so he might be the big play potential as well, especially if Russell Gage sits, so I don't hate him whatsoever. But then you got Scotty Miller, and then I think that Cole Beasley got signed to the practice squad. I don't know if he's been elevated to play in this game, but he doesn't know the playbook enough outside of getting maybe a handful of targets. Scotty Miller might be the one to have the game in this offense this week, going deep, going short, catching all the PPR upside. We'll see. This is a tough one in Tampa Bay. So if you own a lot of Tampa Bay players, I feel for you this week because this is going to be one of the harder weeks to ingest and digest. But, watch the pregame, watch the injury report before game, and that's what you got to do. So make sure you have viable options on your bench to plug and play if you got to take one of these guys out. But like I said, Julio over Gage for me, maybe Perryman over Gage at this point because he should see lesser coverage. But, Gage right now has just been so not impressive, and I can't trust it whatsoever. Cameron Brate, high risk, but, if all these wide receivers are out and you got guys like Jalen Dart and Scotty Miller, maybe you do play Cameron Brate, and I got to lift him up a little bit. So I want to get out of this game because it makes me sick. It's too much, man. It's too much. I can't handle it. The Tennessee Titans, next one on the board, going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. Both teams are 0-2, coming off pretty bad losses last week. I don't know how you trust any of this. I really don't. Derrick Henry has 2 bust games in 2022. 2, and we're only in week number 3, man. So this is not good. You got to get Derrick Henry the ball. Why are you trying to be a passing team, Tennessee? Run the damn ball with King Henry. So I got to say, they got to get back to basics. Go back to the drawing board. Ryan Tannehill against a Vegas defense that is not necessarily stellar. I do like him to bounce back a little bit in the pass game this week. However, I'm going to put, obviously, you got to start Derrick Henry. You're not going to bench him. But it's where we risk tolerance these players, right? How can we say they're going to perform? Low-risk level play for me. He's got to eventually break out, and this could be the game that he does that. Derrick Henry, I'm speaking of. Hilliard does come back, but he is a high risk coming off the injury. We got Kyle Phillips doubtful to play in this game. But Robert Woods, Treylon Burks, and then Nick Westbrook-Akeen. We'll see how they do it. Right now, I got high risks on all these individuals outside of Treylon Burks because he is the most explosive at this point. Robert Woods, he's been blocking a lot. What can you say? He's the best blocking wide receiver, one of them in the NFL. He's a massive high risk. Tannehill's not even looking in his direction. I just don't understand what this offense is doing right now. You're not running the ball. At least I would have an excuse to say, well, hey, Tennessee runs the ball a lot. That's why they don't pass. They're not even running the ball a lot. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of staying away from Tennessee outside of Derrick Henry until I see better production. So, if you guys are benching all these guys, I can't fault you whatsoever. Outside of Derrick Henry, he is the one true start that we got to say every single week. Finishing it off with these Washington Commanders, the Commies, and they're going up against the Eagles. And what is this, baby? What is this? Revenge game for Carson Wentz. You got to love it. He's going back. He's playing, or it's in Washington, but he's going up against his former team. You know, man, divisional rival. That's why he was happy to come to Washington. He wants to stick it to his old team. He's been playing very well. This offense right now. Can you look at all these numbers on the side I got for you guys? 0 bust games for all top positions. Running back and wide receiver. Look at this stuff, man. Look at what's going on in Washington. Carson Wentz, 0 bust games. Antonio Gibson, 0 bust games. Terry, Dotson, Samuel, 0 bust games. Logan Thomas only has a bust game because he was, nursing that ACL in the first week. He scored a touchdown last week. Otherwise, he'd be 0 bust games as well. This offense looks good, okay? And I'm trusting this offense even against the Eagles who did shut down Kirk Cousins. Carson Wentz is going to come to play. Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel are all ballers. And here's the thing that I want to say. You got to say Slay's probably going to take away a little Terry. So then now Dotson maybe seeing a little bit of Bradbury. Curtis Samuel might have a day, man, and I got him as a massive low-risk play right now. Jahan Dotson should at least sprinkle in, but Terry McLaurin is going to have the toughest part of the day. I'm still going to put him as a good upside play because a touchdown will get him likely over that threshold that we're always looking for. Logan Thomas and Curtis Samuel are the key cogs to watch in this offense because of how good Bradbury and Slay have been playing on the defensive backfield. Carson Wentz, like I said, he is going to want to, put it to his former team. Antonio Gibson, mid-level risk for me because I do think that the Eagles do play very well against the run still. With Fletcher Cox and company, they can still, stack the front, and they're going to stop the run game. But for me, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas are definitely two plays that you got to play this week with a little bit of Jahan and Terry. I mean, with a good upside, low risk because they're just producing, and you can't hate that whatsoever. So there you have it. That is week 3 Start Sit Fantasy Football for the NFL. Definitely some great contests to look forward to on Sunday. I'm looking forward to it. Go Bills, squish the fish week. You got to say it, but nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments. You got Start Sit questions, throw them in those comments. I'll answer you back. No kidding, man. So nevertheless, we'll see you next time. I am out.